Welcome back. Let the people decide. Dan Belcher, I'm your guest host. Also candidate for CD5, Congress. Kendra Horn, I'm sitting here with Adrian Otap.
Hello, Representative Horn. Looking forward to having lunch with you this Wednesday with the Northwest Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce.
I'd be real surprised if she watches.
You never know.
That's right. There you go. So, how do you think that the rally went?
I was surprised by the turnout that we had today.
Less than 24 hours.
Less than 24-hour notice. Basically, Don Spencer and the Oklahoma Second Amendment Association, we're talking information sequestration, OPSEC on this operation here, because we know that we have there's some private groups on Facebook and chats that are going on that have been infiltrated by people that like to kind of keep their ear to the railroad track.
Sure.
The other side wants to know what you're doing, and we want to know what the other side's doing, and when it comes to initiative efforts like this, and so this was just a hush-hush, low-notice operation, and with that being said, word of mouth, we were able to get a really sizable group of people out there today, and the contribution from the number of legislators that were there today.
Sure.
We had a number of members of the Oklahoma State House of Representatives as well as state senators that were there. And couldn't be happier with the turnout. Well,
and this is what's awesome is this is a direct reflection of the people and the organizations that have their thumb on the pulse of what it is that's going on. And so if you even look at the petition itself, Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite is on that petition.
Right. I looked at a screenshot of the first page of the petition, or the protest, if you will, the thing that was filed today.
Sure.
And I believe OTU is the second organization on the list, right under Oklahoma's Second Amendment Association. So that really speaks volumes.
Get your news here first. If you're not a believer yet, if you're just joining us, because we're going to get a lot of people who see us on the news, who see OTU on the news today, and then come to this channel today, you get news here that you're not going to get anywhere else. There's no News 9, there's no KUT,
right.
Freedom 43.
Granted, a number of those news outlets were there today, and very, very proud and pleased at the turnout, from the media side of things.
Absolutely, to cover it.
And so, yes, we will be on the news later this afternoon, this evening, tonight, and it remains to be seen how the printed media, the newspapers carry this story. But this is going to get some attention. It's going to generate some traction.
Well, and so as it should. I mean, as the Second Amendment is a cornerstone of the American democracy.
Right. It is a fundamental bedrock right that we have in this country. It's one of the things that all of our other amendments rest upon, truly.
And so whenever you say shall not be infringed, tell me what your thoughts are on that.
My thoughts on shall not be infringed, I'm a believer in the notion that words mean things, otherwise we would not have words for things.
Sure.
And you can ask some people around here, I'll get on certain people's case when they'll use a certain term when maybe they should not have, or there was a term that would more accurately reflect the concept they're trying to convey. And I really believe that shall not be infringed means just that. It means these are your rights. We're not going to meddle with them. We're not going to limit them or we're not going to curtail them. This is your right. And I don't think that it applies just to the Second Amendment. Pretty much anything in the Bill of Rights. I mean, we have 27 amendments, 26 of which are enforced because one repealed a previous one. Oh, out of those 26 are in effect now. Those are all things that should not be infringed.
Absolutely. Well, and then the biggest factor in this day and age with the mass shootings and things, so now we talk about red flag laws. Now we talk about whenever you say shall not be infringed, and you say, well, maybe just here. Maybe we'll infringe a little here. Maybe, and then, but that's the question: is where does it stop?
Where does it stop? It's the slippery slope, the snowball effect, the death by 1,000 cuts. It's the situation of we the people. What are we about here at Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite? Let the people decide.
That's it.
It's a case of we the people being that frog in the pot of water that is slowly brought to a boil.
That's it.
we're not going to notice. And again, this is a thing that Don Spencer at OK2A likes to say. We like to talk about incrementalism. It can go both ways.
Absolutely.
One of the big things that OK2A is in favor of is incrementally restoring rights that never should have been infringed or taken away or hindered to begin with. Whereas, what is the other side trying to do? Incrementally chip away at our essential liberties.
Absolutely, and that was one thing that I think I've even said on this show before is the Second Amendment has nothing to do with what it is that people do with the guns.
Yes.
It is the exact opposite of what it is they're trying to present to us as a protection from the government. I mean, that's what the
Right.
Second Amendment is for.
Well, and not just the Second Amendment, but all of the amendments, particularly everything in the Bill of Rights. These are things that we the people have gotten together, or at least the founders got together and decided, you know what, these are things that the government should not meddle with. These are rights that the people have that the government shall not infringe. We're not going to hinder you or limit you in any way. These are your freedoms. We're the government. We're going to stay out of that, because once we, the government, start to do that, we're taking steps down the path to tyranny.
Well, and that's the thing is there's usually the same thing happens when someone without a gun goes up against somebody with a gun. And whenever that's a government entity that has absolute power. And so, they say, oh, well, mental illness and different. Well, who decides? Who decides who's mentally well and where does that line stop? And so, again, slippery slope.
Right, it is a slippery slope, and I understand that we have certain federal prohibitions. People who are statutorily prohibited from possessing firearms and ammunition
After due process.
And when it comes to, I think the phraseology is a mentally defective person, someone who has been adjudicated mentally defective, and that means there's been due process. There have been mental health professionals. The courts have made a ruling that there's something wrong with you. You are not in your right mind. The definition of sanity that applies to everyone else does not apply to you.
That's right.
And so we're gonna take some precautions in your case.
Sure.
And other things. People with convictions for domestic abuse, the Lautenberg Amendment, things like that. Not completely outlandish.
Right. Well, and that's the
felons, people that aren't in the country legally. Well, that was one of the things that they brought up in the press conference today. That part of the petition talks about how it would prevent basically illegal aliens from having access to firearms. Like this is something we want to have happen.
Right.
First of all, it is completely illegal under federal law to begin with.
Right.
These are people that are absolutely prohibited from possessing firearms or ammunition. It's against the law for them to have a single round of ammunition, and for them to put that in the petition that they're trying to get people to sign to delay the implementation of constitutional carry or to put it to a vote of the people. It is so misleading.
Well, and what do you think about that being the actual mantra of the Democrat Party, of the people who are trying to infringe upon the rights, is deception? I mean, we've gotten to a point to where now it's just taken with breakfast in the morning. To where it's, and that's what they've tried to do. They've watered down the truth to a point to where now it's just expected, but What about the good old-fashioned chin check that says, hey, that's not true?
Right. Someone has to stand up to that and understand that there are actual demonstrable facts in this world. Truth does exist. And there are people that are making lives and careers out of spreading things that are not true. And if no one resists them, we can only guess what terrible path that's going to lead to. It, as the saying goes, all evil needs to be victorious,
good men to do nothing.
And that's what we're seeing out there. We're seeing a lot of people, the majority of people doing nothing for one reason or another, because it's always, regardless of which side of the aisle or which side of any issue you're on, it's always a small minority of people that are vocal and active about anything.
Sure.
And that's my twist on the term minority empowerment, because it's truly a minority of the people that have
that are making the decisions.
from a pure number standpoint, that are
Exactly
making the decisions and being involved in the decision making process.
Well, they say the electorate that actually votes is usually less than 10%
This is true.
of the actual population that lives in that particular area.
Right, and unless there's some hot button issue on the ballot, like in recent election cycles, the medical marijuana issues that brought a lot more people to the polls.
Then you might get 17%.
Right.
Then but still, I mean, it's still an unrealistic number to have, having control over 83% of the rest of the population.
Right. And so when you get to this situation where hey, yeah, it's majority rules in the sense that 51% of that 7%.
That's right.
are the ones that basically have a say.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's why it's so important to stand up for these type of issues at the time that they're being presented, because that representation shows and it catches. And so I actually was talking in the last segment about the ability and the necessity for each individual to do more. To do more. You think you've done enough, you have to do
more.
And that's it. And so that's what we're trying to establish in this next election cycle, is a grassroots effort to understand and to implement the ability to give people that channel to say, hey, how can I do more? I'd be more than happy to show you. Come get involved.
And that is such a good point you're making. This issue of being able to show people what they need to actually physically do to be involved in a meaningful way. Because I know there are a lot of people out there that like to armchair quarterback it. They like to
backseat drivers.
They like to gripe and groan and yell at their TVs when the news is on and say, I wish somebody would do something. But you know what? You can be that somebody.
That's it.
And the first step is just showing up to stuff.
Well, that's it.
I mean, how am I off base when I say that?
Basic and elementary.
You just have to show up to stuff, and what people like you and I can do is reach that hand out and say, okay, here's some things that you should show up to.
Well, and this is the thing, and this is a perfect opportunity for the people who are coming to this page for the first time. Like the page, share this podcast, share with the people that you think would be interested, and we'd be more than happy to have you get involved. We are in the process of putting a grassroots movement underway to where we are going and dissecting down to the precinct level what can be done and what needs to be done, and individuals who are willing and want to do it. Because this next election cycle is going to be muy importante.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds really important.
Very much important. That's right. So if you guys would like to get involved in any way, OTU would love your donations. Dan Belcher for Congress, I'd love your donations. But we'd love to get you involved and integrated into the cycle and the system that we've established, because we want you to be a part of the big changes that we're going to be making over the next 11 months.
Yeah. And it's a great point you just made about cycle and system and structure that's established, because we don't want people to have to reinvent the wheel.
That's it.
That is such, there's such a learning curve for people that are interested in getting involved, and once they make that leap of faith to get involved and to jump into that deep end of the pool of politics, to have to figure it out on their
own. Well, that's it. You've got a very small window for them to get motivated or to get demotivated. Exactly right.
And it is so easy to get demotivated with all the garbage that's going on out there.
Well, it is. And so to get people involved and to let them know that what they do is important, but also to make it duplicatable.
Yes.
Duplicatable to where we have to present it in a digestible and duplicatable manner.
That's right. Yeah. The best thing we can say is that we have a system for that.
That's right. Just follow instruction and let's get it going. So
you're making me have flashbacks to my Navy days on the submarine.
There you go.
Everything's about following procedural compliance.
Well, good.
Somebody came along and figured it out, and we just continue to perfect it along the way.
There you go. Well, good. Well, we're going to take a break. I think it's about time for that, and then we'll come back with Adrian here just shortly.
All right.